and welcome to our PM safari here at Thornybush Private Nature Reserve. My name is Mark, and Rob is with me on camera this afternoon. Brian and Aaron back in final control, and lovely afternoon it is. Patches, tiny little patches of cloud over the escarpment, but otherwise very typical dry season blue skies. I'm expecting that maybe at sunset we might catch the full moon rising. It's a very special day today. We're heading up north. We're heading back to an area that I had a wonderful experience with elephant this morning. Really, really special experience, as they mostly are. And I hope you're going to join us. I hope you're going to stay with us for the next couple of hours. Let me know where you're from. This is where the lift. Probably our largest butterfly, I would say. Slightly larger than the big Caraxines that I'm so fond of. Quite a dark specimen. Normally the yellow is very sort of lemon yellow. It's quite a deep yellow. Yeah. Here comes a monarch. There's a monarch. And another citrus swallowtail coming. Another citrus swallowtail's gone. Okay. Copy, thanks. Yes, a weeping booby. Scotia brachypatella. Do you know why it's called a weeping booby? Different trees weep for different reasons, and a lot of them are the same reason, but the weeping bourbon is one of those unique ones in that it's the nectar that the flower produces that is produced in copious amounts, and it drips. And one of the reasons why it drips is because it doesn't have very big petals on the flowers to sustain that nectar. Hence the name brachypatella. Brachy means short, patella means petal. So it's a very short petaled tree or flower, and the flower for pollination requires birds of many different sorts, not only sunbirds. So it's got very short petals and any bird can really get into it. So you get bulbuls and starlings and sunbirds and all sorts of birds hanging around, as well as all the insects, because it's got this deliciously sweet nectar.
One tree I've never seen flowering so bad, man.
Really?
Never seen a flowering so bad.
It's interesting because they you just got to go to Ruaha. You just got to go to East Africa or further north. They flower just before they come into leaf in spring. We're on the trail of a herd of elephants. Came down that other road and they're now heading parallel to the river, and I want to find them. I got my shoes. I was going to go look for them down there, but now we have to go look for them down here. And not too far. This is freshly bent over. Hasn't been broken, but freshly been bent over, freshly browsed on. Elephants have stripped the leaves. There's some leaves in the road from it. There's large fruited bush willow. They're a couple of hours behind these elephants, so depending on how fast they're moving, I don't know, might determine whether we catch up with them or not. We shall see. Looks like might have been one or two went down there through the river. Marvin's the lion. Well, sometimes I can't tell the difference between lion and elephant. His right tusk goes straight down. Like him. His right tusk is like a fang.
What a man.
Okay, Paddy, we'll see. He hasn't seen the red jack on the front yet. Let's see. He's just hanging back and following this herd, I think. This is fun. This is our first elephant encounter in the Thornybush River, amongst the reeds. Maybe we need to go and wait for him at that crossing, if we can get there. He's single-mindedly aiming for wherever those other Ellies have gone. He looks a bit shy, actually. Sorry, we're just gonna do a little bit of a detour, get back to the riverbed this way. So why is he being shy? He's storming away, Mr. Norman. Maybe it's the figure. Uncle Norman. Uncle Norman. Not as big as the big boy we saw this morning. I wonder where the rest of them are. Past the big gardenia. I said there they are, but it's only him. They will track the rest of the herd. I don't know where they've gone. Well, not the rest of the herd, but the herd that he's following is the same herd that I'm following. I hope so. He seems to be in a bit of a hurry. No time to stop and talk. Now I see all the tracks of the whole herd have already passed through here, so I think that's why he's moving the way he is. He's not really ambling along, he's not feeding, he's just walking, following their scent trail, just following their prints. What do they call this road anyway? It's still Monarch. And one Madod and Glove heading east on Monarch. He's now going to that pan. The Saddle Bull stalk pan. I'm guessing that maybe the rest of the herd is there already. Yeah, with this afternoon light. He wants to get to them before us. He's seriously on a mission, this elephant. No, you don't get your engine all revving up now. Take it slow. There we go. Elephant pace. Going to ambush us on the other side of this quarry. No. Not interested.
It's a nice boy.
Now going back to the river. Does that mean that the others are all on the river? Just in front of River Lodge. The River Lodge. Where we're not going to be able to see him. Maybe we just can take this 2-track. This side of the pan. They're not at our... And they'll be the fan. Although one elephant gets come up the fan. No tracks there. And it's a fairly old track. Older. There we go. Sorry, Aaron, I was distracted there. Can you go with that question again? Yeah, it would be very nice. Actually, that is where he's going. Peggy, Aaron was giving me your question, and then the other radio was going. Yeah? Ah, okay. Hello, Peggy. Are there big tuskers here at Thornybush like there are at Tembe? And the answer is no. No, there are not. Those are old elephants. See, now we're stuck. These big trees, they're beautiful. This must have been something else for this thing falling down. Sure. That is a white fornication, this one. I don't know if we're going to be able to get through here. We have to try, so I'm not going back. Now, Peggy, these elephants, well, no, I don't think elephants have been here that long that they're going to be any really large tuskers. I think the elephant that we saw this morning, that big bull, probably one of the biggest elephants we'll see. Granted, he didn't have big tusks. Because the other thing about big tusks is it's genetic. I think there are not that many elephants here that carry such gene for such big tusks as there are there. Hello, Paula. Hello, Nara. Going down into the river now. There they are. They're right on the edge. He's going straight to them. Are we going to beat you, Norman? We're going to get there first. He's going off now. He's going off that way. Okay, I'm going to leave Norman to be Norman. Yeah, let's get to these other aliens. I want to see, maybe we can still get them while they're in the river. Look at the size of that nyala. Wow. What, you're gonna put your horns through my radiator? Nearly attacked by nyala. Sorry boys, I don't mean to belittle your existence, but I've got a date with some elephants. There's another big bull in there. I love it when a plan comes together. Yeah. Hello Donna, thank you for your question. Interesting question. Hello little girl. Donna's saying it's interesting that I can look down and identify an animal by its footprint. Okay, let's see. We want to be slightly raised. Is it okay to have this?
Yeah, no, this is perfect.
Slightly higher, the reeds are quite high. Donna wants to know, well, she says it's quite amazing that I can look down, I can tell the animal from the footprints, and wants to know how long I've been doing this and what exactly is my title. I think I was about 5 or 6 years old, maybe 7. Oh, listen to that purple crested Tarako calling behind us. Donna, I was about 6 or 7 years old when I was jumping from elephant print to elephant print in the riverbed at home. So from a very young age I've been passionate, I've been obsessed with everything nature. My title, I consider myself a naturalist. Nature is my passion. I'm a professional guide as well, and a novice tracker, somewhat of a tracker too. Let's go down there, just where that sand is, if we don't fall into this big hole.
You reverse to go through here.
Yeah. Oops. Now that's an interesting fly nesting. Canal nesting. Yeah. So this is a different herd now to the herd we saw this morning. Hello kids. Oh, there's a monkey eating the new shoots of the reeds. They love the new shoots of these reeds, the monkeys. Fervent monkeys. But they're shy. All the primates are shy. Thank goodness these pachyderms are not shy. For now we shall stay here and have a look. I'll station Shambi Glove in the Timbavati River, just east of River Lodge. This is the monitor. Oh, it's gone. Giant Nile monitor. Been waiting for them to come into the river and feed on the reeds. This is Africa. This is Africa. Wow. Somebody sent me a question this morning when we were with the elephants this morning and wanted to know why we're not. Well, somebody else. Could have been Liz or Sharon. It was one of my regulars, viewers, I mean, and connection. Why are we not seeing young elephants? That's because they've been on contraceptives for a while, these ellies. I think they're going to come off contraceptives soon to have some babies. There's a generation gap, a bit of a generation gap here. And this vegetation, from what I've seen of Thornybush so far, this could handle a good few more ellies. Plus, you can't have a generation gap. You can limit, I suppose, to some extent, the number of births. But otherwise you're going to have, with the generation gap, you're going to have, when the oldest female dies, the next oldest female will be too young to be able to well, not too young, but she'll be too inexperienced to be a matriarch. There's a big Tuscus girl straight up ahead of us. And as far as the reeds in this river are concerned, these elephants can feed on these reeds. Bless you. Glad you don't have a frightening sneeze. Look at that tree. That must be Norman. The trunk comes up out of it. So, where was I? I forgot now. Yeah, just that the next generation of females will be a little bit inexperienced to be matriarchs. Binky, hello Binky. That's normal. Maybe. There are quite a few more elephants still coming out onto the riverbed. Binky wanted to know why are some reserves fenced and others not. It's politics, Binky. Politics grew. What the? Maybe I should try and say this diplomatically. I have rather strong feelings about it, because there are some fenced reserves that are only fenced because the owners want to own everything within it, and if they open up their fences, they lose a fair amount of control, and they lose a fair amount of say-so over how they manage their properties, because then it becomes part of the Kruger Park. And by maintaining a fence, they can maintain ownership of everything within that fence. And you get some reserves that have spent a lot of money over the last few decades or so in buying animals and stocking the reserves, so that if they were to drop their fences, they have this idea in their heads that they're going to lose all these animals that they spend so much money on in bringing into the reserve. It's got a lot to do with control and relinquishing that control of the land.
This Ellie drinking here, she's got that notch in her head.
Yes, the first old lady we saw.
She's the one who had that nice screen.
Yeah. I think. That was a double notch. Could be. Yeah, I think you're right. It is. Definitely. Very distinctive. So this is the herd we first saw. She's got tusks that sort of just curve under her trunk. For me it's quite sad really, because you get these wonderful big private reserves and they have these fences in really silly places, like this one going through this really beautiful pristine little piece of bush that has unique trees on it. Other areas along the Claseri River where you have the fence for a big private reserve on one side of the river, and then it goes on the other side of the river, and all they want to do is buy up all the land around them and incorporate it into their fence. They don't think so far as to think that if we drop all the fences, the game has let me put it this way. It's all for personal reasons rather than for reasons for the wildlife. It would be so much better if everybody just dropped fences and let everything on this side of, the side of Kruger, close to Kruger, be incorporated into Kruger. It's part of the whole Kruger to Canyon Biosphere Reserve's mission. But it's never going to happen. There are going to be landowners that will never let that happen. There are, of course, other reserves which are completely self-contained that cannot open their fences to anything because they're surrounded by main arteries, main roads between towns and cities, and it's physically impossible to open up those fences and have things like elephants and wild animals on roads that are plied by trucks and buses and just the general public. It just wouldn't work. It'd be carnage. Where's that plane? Oh, there it is. A little 210. I wonder if that's Rob. Flying up to Salat. Not red. Same plane as Rob's. That was Cessna 210. Salati is one of those. Salati is a game reserve between Palabora and Gravelot in a little town called Mica, where they mine mica. It's on a triangle that is bordered by three really big roads, arteries between towns. There's no way they could open up to anyone else. It's these reserves that border Kruger that could quite easily open themselves up and become part of the greater whole. I think one of the things that's driving a lot of these reserves to refrain from that these days is the level of poaching that's happening now, which is very, very sad. And I don't know how it can be. There's that Norman there.
Yeah, that's Norman.
We'll beat you.
Norman with the ski tusks.
We've got you. I've been here 10 minutes already, Norman. After you in such a hurry. But you see, he's got to cruise in here, so he runs here, and then just as soon as he gets close to all the ladies, he calms down and he slows down and he just sort of wanders in here. Letting himself be seen. Doesn't want to approach them directly. A bit of water there that he's doing.
Where's my camera?
Rule number 1. Never leave home without. Rule number 2. If you do leave home without it, no, we're going to see something. Sounds like that lorry's coming close. Any really decent shot. Be interesting. Watch now. As he approaches, he's going to have to greet these females that are on the left. Now let's see if we're going to see. Watch this. He's going to have to be courteous. Stretch out the trunk. Maybe trunk and mouth to greet. Or you're just going straight for sniffing. Vulva. No greeting. Just straight to. Are you ready? And that car's coming up to give him a little bit of a whiff to see if he's in must, maybe, which is not. Now this little one's using her tail to feel what he's doing, just batting his trunk away. Classic stance of a bull. Oh, just wait, just leaning on a bar counter. I remember there was a question this morning as well about the difference between males and females, and if you look carefully at this young female facing just this side of Norman, facing the same way as Norman with her head in the shade, she's got a very square forehead, and then if you look at this little boy on the left facing her, facing the opposite direction, see how rounded his forehead is. So the bulls have a rounded forehead, and the cows have a very square shaped forehead. Also at Lambian Glove in the Timbavati chunk in Mouse. Just in front of Albida Pan in the riverbed.
Like this one next to us.
Yeah, Norman here too, good visual. There goes that tree that was shaking. There are. I'm thinking maybe this is part of the herd we saw earlier. We'll see if that big bull comes out. Hello, little one. So this little boy is coming to greet Norman. Nearly pulled his tail. I could just sit here till nightfall.
Mm.
I don't have to go anywhere. Of course, they're going to go somewhere. Spread out everywhere, these earlies. It's a big female. This is quite a big lady, a big old girl coming out now, other side of Norman. Did you get that when that young bull was greeting that other female? Put his trunk in her mouth. It's like a kiss on the cheek, or like a handshake. I have to admit, these elephants are very peaceful compared to a lot of elephants I know. Sitting this long with a herd of elephant, where I've been with big herds of elephants, I suppose the one thing that is that there are no little ones to be naughty, because you always hear them being reprimanded and the odd scream here and there. Little ones that are doing something wrong, and then mom jabbing them with a tusk or pushing them forward or something, and then the youngsters invariably squeal. These aliens aren't really in the disciplining mode. Turn your head there into the sun. There we go. Hello, old girl. Lovely big old tuskless female. Yes. Keep your nose in my general direction. Are you going to come and talk to us, old girl? Oh.
Yeah,
See what I mean? See what I mean by sounding like a rifle shot when a tree goes. Tasting the water first, washing her mouth out, like a mouthwash there, not really drinking, just a mouth rinse, a little. Here's our friend from the other day, she's coming too, and this is the little one that also he came to say hello to us as well. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. That posture of it's one of my favourite postures of elephant. I don't know if you were on it.
Yeah, I was.
How square her forehead is too. Hey, old girl. She's an old lady. She's the matriarch. Sure. There was talk of a really old female that was the matriarch of the main herd. and they kind of split up, and that she can look quite old and out of condition at the end of the dry season. She's already looking a bit old now. Got this one? Pity. It's in here.
Actually, if you sit up and move your head a bit back, you'll block the sun out there.
If I did this.
Back a bit, yeah, now you block.
There. I can't drive forward. Lovely green grasses. Can I have some? Maybe we'll go back to that one. Nope. I'm going to go back to that one.
Yeah.
See, my head can also block. It's too close to take a photo. At this time of the year with the green grasses, an elephant's going to wrap its trunk around the grasses, uproot the grasses, put it in the mouth. Normally they'll actually, if there's a lot of mud and sand on it, they'll slap it around a lot to get rid of the mud and sand. But as you can see, he's just biting off the ends of the grasses and letting the roots fall. It's the opposite in the dry season. In the dry season, they're going to be picking up those grasses and bashing all the sand off of the roots and actually eating the roots and letting the dried grass leaves fall away. Here comes Mrs. Ellie again. This is from the other day, the big lady who was with us the other day, coming back to say hello to us. Hello, old girl. Nice to see you again. Get closer.
Forest pulls my sun, it's like zoom away.
Maybe she's into the sun a little bit. Yeah. It's humbling to have them trust us so much. After all elephants they've experienced over the last few centuries, to have elephants around us that are so comfortable with us. I would imagine that none of these elephants have experienced humans at their worst, as some elephants have. Some of the elephants I've met in East Africa, and it's just as special, in fact sometimes maybe even more so, to be in a place, there we go, trying to get the mud off of the roof, just going to bite off the top and left it left, yeah, wear it on your head. It's a hat, shade the sun, her head's getting hot. Either that or she's putting on camouflage so she can creep up on it. You look funny, girl. You really do. Put it into the sun like this. What you listening to? You're listening to probably the other Ellies. Hello, David. David wants to know, so this is in relation, or in there goes the saddleboard. This is in connection with what I said earlier about using contraceptives in a closed environment with a herd like this, where there's going to be a bit of a generation gap. David's asking what, if anything, can be done about that generation gap. Nothing really, David, nothing at all, as far as I know. Yeah. Opening up the bush down there quite a bit. Some of that. There's the no, that's the woolly neck. There's the woolly neck stalk flying over, coming in.
Cool.
It was. I've got your shadow on his flank.
I was filming it as well. I got my shadow.
Wall of elephant. And from that magical moment to
Nothing.
Lutu. I'm glad we had him here because I might have tried to get down here. Not seeing the water down there. Okay, let's see what we're going to do. It's starting to get a bit hot. Seems to maybe been getting a bit hot for some of these ellies and that. Turn around. Oh, yes. Do you mind if I come past you here, like you walk past me? I like that little, that eye of yours. Hello. I want to photograph your eye in the sun. Okay, we'll talk to you later, little boy. We're going to talk to your friends and family now. We can go park up there in the shade a little bit further, and they're all coming through here now. We just yeah. Penny, what? RC in the Netherlands in the World Birdwatch. Yeah. Reed dwelling birds. Hello, RC. There's Norman across there now. He was one of the ones shaking this whole thing. Yes, there are. I expect there should be some bishops, weavers, canaries. Who else would be in the reeds? Maybe tits. Of course, there are the crakes. I don't know if any gallinules here. That's Ryan, he's just coming now. I think, yeah, must be Ryan. Look, he's digging. He's going to dig, try and get some cool sand to begin with. I wonder if he's going to try and get water. Yeah. The standing water that you see, or that we see, first of all, it might be a little bit warm, but also it's kind of dirty and muddy. It has sediment. Elephants are very fussy about the water that they drink, so they will rather dig for the water, away from the standing water. There he's just kicking out some of the sand. We really need to be further that side. Other one also digging just behind him.
Ian's up so we can hear them. At the moment I don't have to dig very deep at all because the surface, the water table itself, as you can see with the water standing, it's not very deep. But as we go into the dry season, it's going to get the water table sinks, and then they have to dig a little bit deeper. Come to me, little boy. No, not interested. Beautiful shot there with that reflection.
Hello Sandra. How and where do Ellies sleep? Well, generally they don't really sleep. Look, I know that's good. Oh, he's finished now. He was resting. Finished now. That's how quick they sleep. Sandra, sometimes during the heat of the day they will rest up under a tree in the shade when it's really, really hot. But by resting is they relax all their muscles, their trunk sort of goes floppy on the ground, and they might sort of close their eyes for a few minutes, but that is what sleep is for an elephant, it's a few minutes rest. The youngsters will lie down and sleep, closed eye sleep, because they get tired as they little ones. But elephants, the type of digestive system that they have, need to be constantly processing food, whether they are constantly selecting their food. So they don't really sleep. They still move around during the night, they still feed during the night. How they sleep? Well, it's very difficult for an adult elephant to lie down. There's a younger bull coming into the water, to this hole that's been dug. Generally they lock their knees and their ankles and their wrists, and they just say, see how he's standing? Looks exactly like that, but now he's stirring again. Stirring as awakening. He's having a bit of a nap, he's having a bit of a rest, lifting the weight off of the foot. When that trunk goes on the sort of gets very, very slack and just rests on the ground, the head drops a little bit, and it's just a method to lay down, and well, the equivalent of having a bit of a cat nap. So you're going to come and say hello.
Need some cycling. 2 little stands. That. Sedge grass. RC, getting back to reed nesting, reed dwelling. Such beautiful life. She's a pretty girl. That one on the left. She's actually, I suppose, looks like she's got a bit of mascara on because her eye's been weeping. Her right eye. Quite a pretty elephant. Let's see that tree. Inside of that tree. Elaine, hello. Welcome to our drive. Elaine was asking if you can tell an elephant's age by the size of their tusk. It's one of those times where definitely not. Oh, wait, I should notice something. This little one lost the tip of its tongue. Putting its trunk in bigger one's mouth.
Yeah, the trunk was lost. A snare or something.
Yeah, I've seen it. We had a couple that came in from Kruger and Zuma. I've got 1 or 2 at home that I see, and even up in East Africa, several, even some that have only got a foot or 2 left of their trunk. It is very sad how they can lose it, but he seems to be doing okay. If anything, he doesn't need to grab anything with the tip of the trunk. He just has to push it into his mouth. I can remember an Ellie in Tanzania, in Salou, that had lost the tip of its trunk, and to pick up marulas, it would load them at the end of each nostril. It would load like 3 to 5 in each marulas, and then like a pea shooter, shoot them into his mouth. They adapt. It is a handicap. It can no longer grab individual leaves, but it can still manipulate branches, it can still manipulate grasses. I've seen an elephant that's lost the tip of its trunk, even using its foot to roll things onto the, it will curl the end of its trunk and roll things with its foot onto the curl of its trunk. So they're not entirely handicapped, they're not entirely useless. She's been crying. You might see her rubbing her eye. I wish she had something in her eye. Her left eye hasn't been leaking. The temporal gland isn't leaking. But then you want to come behind us and we decided not to. I kind of got you with the... Yes, you did. See that smile again? And my F1 was also good to do this, trying to get me.
No. Brian says he doesn't like him anymore. Must be because of the elephant.
Brian? Back. You got to see leopard. Shit, it's really almost full.
Really?
Yeah.
Hello, girl. Can we talk to you? Sure.
That is weird.
What?
Tried to zoom in now and the zoom went back and forth and then went fine again. I was doing it like this way.
Got little toothpicks for tusks, this little one. I was getting back to that question about tusk size for age determination in elephants. Tusks, I don't know if I got through that answer because I had distractions part of the course. I'm always distracting myself. But no, tusk size has got to do with genetics. So you can get a 20-year-old elephant that's got the tusks that are the same size as, say, a 40-year-old elephant. What does change, however, is sometimes the thickness of the tusks. And that's also not really an indicator, not really a measure of age that one can bank on. There are other things that one can use to gauge the age of an ellie. And growing up, of course, up until the age of 20-25, if one knows elephants and you use it in relation to an adult, it's kind of the same proportion, general proportions as a teenager to an adult human, but much like with humans, you get tall ones and short ones. So, excuse me. Listening to the radio talk about our herd of elephants from this morning with that big male. And of course, because I listened to the radio, I've forgotten where I was. What I was. So, okay, just switch that off, then I won't be interrupted by them again. So gauging age is something we do until they become adults, just in relationship to the size of adults. And that sometimes you can get like an adult cow that is the same size as a 15-year-old cow, because she's just a smaller individual. But that's not the norm, that's more an exception to the rule. Feet size, believe it or not. There is a correlation between the size of their feet and their age, and also, believe it or not, although I'm not about to go around measuring, but the bolus in the dung has a correlation with age. Of course, the most accurate way, which is an impossible way, is the rest of the teeth. Now, elephants' teeth are quite unique in the natural world, in that they don't have a lot of individual teeth like most of us mammals do, and coupled with that, they don't have vertical tooth replacement. In other words, they don't lose a tooth and then another one erupts from the gum line like we do with our baby teeth and our adult teeth. Elephants' teeth have evolved completely different set of rules, and because of the vegetation that they eat, because of the roughage, especially the abrasiveness of the grasses and the bark, and the amount of tooth wear that they experience, that oh, hello. Oh, I don't know, just climbing up on the bank. Hello, Mr. Zelly. Okay. Okay.
Now there's no more elephants.
Empty of elephants. So you see, to have two sets, to have just a baby set of teeth and then to have an adult set of teeth, they would die at the age of 25 or less. Now, elephants live for a lot longer than that, and so nature has given them 6 sets of teeth. And instead of it being that the tooth falls out and another one is replaced, because an elephant can't really afford that. It can't really afford to wait that amount of time for its tooth to erupt to feed again, because they've got to constantly be feeding. It's a kind of different scenario where they have a set of molars, a molar set, a tooth set. It's an entire, it's a beautiful long, never mind. It's a long set of teeth, and each set, from their first set when they're 2 to 3 years old to their last set that comes into play in their late 40s, every set becomes bigger with age, and you never have only one set of teeth in use at any one time. You've always got the previous set of teeth moving forward in the jaw, fragmenting and breaking up, while the next set of teeth is erupting and being used, and even then the next set of teeth after that forming at the back of the jawline, deep in the jaw, so that there's this constant conveyor belt of teeth being used by the elephant as they feed. I think now we might be able to see them at the fan. There's still a few more on the other side of the river, and I guess they'll come through at some point. They've got their heads in some very thick bush there. Just having fun with these sedges. Sedges have edges. Triangular stands. Cyperus distans is that species. Not cypress, but Cyperus. C-Y-P-E-R-U-S. Now let's get lazy. Let's just bite it off, because we...
She was tugging and tugging and she couldn't pull them out, so she just put them in her mouth. Bent down, put them in her mouth and stood up. Be careful about laughing at an elephant, they can get upset. Shake all the insects off. And play with your food. Now she'll use the tusk. So she's right tusked. So each set of teeth is actually in use at a particular point in their lives. So then when you see an elephant's teeth, but you have to tickle their tummies so that they open their mouth so that you can see their teeth. And then you've got to pull their cheeks out. So I'm only kidding, I'm being silly now, as I can be sometimes. Dragonfly hawking insects around this elephant. Lot of them still there. The two bulls playing. You can hear their tusks clashing. Good afternoon, Gail. Gail wants to know if I've ever seen a live birth of an elephant in the wild. And strangely enough, Gail, not. Most of my life living with elephants, I haven't been that lucky. I've actually not seen anything give birth in the wild. Even this last year, this last summer season, with all the impala that are being born, living in the bush every day, around, living where there are herds of impala, whether it was up in East Africa or here, still didn't even get an impala giving birth. One thing that's very unusual about Ruaha in Tanzania, it's the only place I've ever been, that's including Kenya and other parts of Tanzania and Botswana and Zambia and all the parks in South Africa, where the impala don't have a season. They don't have a rutting season, they don't have a birthing season. For some reason they give birth any time of the year. And somehow it works for them. It's very unusual. Maybe one day I'll be rewarded. There are people that have seen elephant births their first visit to Africa, and here I've been in Africa for half a century. It goes to show that you can never predict what you're going to see, and you can never plan what you're going to see. It's just, you would think that spending as much time as I do around elephants, and it's every single day of my life I'm in a place where there are elephants. Maybe I don't see them every day, but I'm still with them. It's not like I'm visiting Africa. I'm in Africa. I'm in the bush all the time. But I've never been lucky enough to catch that moment. Hello, girl. Not so old. She hasn't even been lactating. and good afternoon, Ellen. I wonder if this is L. Fowler. But Ellen wanted to know about this Ellen Smith. Ellen Smith. Ellen is from where? And Ellen wanted to know the social structure, the family structure of elephants, and do any of them split off or go and join other groups? Well, there isn't really any joining of other groups, Ellen. Elephants are very, very strictly maternal, matriarchal in their society, and what one would find is an old adult female with her female offspring and male offspring up until puberty. Shortly after puberty, that the males, before they become adults, they tend to wander away from the herds. I have to be honest with you, you're going to hear a lot of people say, oh, they get kicked out of the herd. It's nonsense. For as far as I'm concerned, and of all the times I've lived with elephants and I've seen individuals leave, they're never kicked out of the herd. They're not chased away. It's a natural progression that occurs from a very young age, that the males tend to lag behind, and eventually going through puberty, they might be discouraged from the kind of rough play they engage in with their sisters, but they are not really forced out. It's just that they find the older bulls that they meet from time to time, their lives a little bit more interesting than the lives with the females and the babies, because they're not really getting taught anything about, they don't need to learn anything about having babies and teaching babies. So when they go through puberty, in their early teens, they eventually leave the herd entirely, and they might join up with older bulls, and that's when you'll find older bulls with younger bulls, and they become askaris, as it were, guards for some of the older bulls. But the bulls become their mentors, because it then becomes important that they learn what is needed of them in elephant society as a bull, because up until that point they've only been with the cows and the calves, so they need to have these lessons in what it means to be a bull. And as far as them splitting up are concerned, yes, they do split up. They have to split up, because eventually you get a mother with her daughters and their daughters and their daughters, and eventually a herd can get too big, and it becomes a little bit impractical for a very big herd to move around. So what you might get is, let's say you have a matriarch and she has several daughters, say 4 daughters of different varying ages. Now ordinarily, if she passed on, the oldest daughter would then take over the matriarchal responsibility, but by the same token, she wouldn't really be in charge, or she wouldn't have much authority over her younger sister as such. And if her younger sister was old enough, one of her younger sisters would also then break away to become a matriarch of her own group. So that's how matriarchs become matriarchs, is that when mom dies and they become the oldest female, they then will be in charge of their own family unit, and their sisters will then become the matriarchs of their own family unit. But there isn't really the case of elephants leaving one herd or one family and joining up with another. They'll socialize with other elephants, most certainly, but they will never join up with another group. The elephant male society is completely different to the females. They wander independently, and every now and then, much as what we've seen today, the bulls come along and they come and join the females for some feeding and just to test to see if there are any females in estrus, but also because they're probably family members too. They would not be strangers. Elephants within a particular area, no matter how big it is, will invariably know each other from childhood or from meeting up over time. And so there are times when they'll socialize for a while. It could be 5 minutes, it could be 5 hours, it could be 5 days when they'll socialize, and then eventually the bulls will move on. Of course, there are the other times when the female is in estrus and the bull will come courting, and it'll be up to the matriarch to decide whether she allows him in to mate with one of her daughters or not. Oh, it's beautiful. That's magic.
Who that? There's a big one. Oh, Norman. Come, Norman. Come this way. Like he'll listen to me. Hanging out with some of the bulls on the other bank. So it could be that there's a female in estrus amongst this crowd. Because now it seems to be split up between the family group on this side of the river and a bunch of bulls on that side of the river, and they're probably bulls that have come from all over to come and court the matriarch to see if she'll let them in to couple with whichever female is in estrus. Be interesting to see if there is any of that interaction, but not at the moment. It's not going to happen. The bulls have possibly been told to stay on that side of the river.
Just chilling outside.
That's fantastic to be able to spend this amount of time with them. We're lucky because the herd that we found this morning were found much further north from where we left them, north of Langwan Dam, where we wouldn't really even be able to go. We wouldn't be able to broadcast there, but what it's meant is that the game drive vehicles to watch elephants have been going to the other herd, and that has meant that we haven't had to leave this herd to allow other vehicles in, and we've been allowed to sit here. So it's a unique moment of being able to spend so much time with elephants, but also because the last few days have shown that the game is not as abundant as I think we all imagined at the moment, because the bush is so thick. And so when we have something like this, we want to just stay with it, because we have such an open view, and it's just such an incredible moment. I'm hoping that over the next few weeks we get to see elephants along this river quite frequently, especially that it might be drying up away from the rivers. The vegetation will be starting to turn brown, and leaves will be falling from trees, and they're guaranteed to have this green belt right throughout the dry season. Here comes one of the boys. Oh, no, maybe not. Oh, maybe. Deanna, I'm in Michigan, wanting to know if it's true that elephants are afraid of bees. Yes, indeed. They are not fond of bees, beehives. I think this one's napping, trunk on the ground. Hasn't moved for a bit. That's how elephants sleep. That one's sleeping, but it's woken up now. In fact, throughout Africa, there is conflict with humans and elephants, because humans grow crops, elephants like what the humans grow, and the elephants want to eat it, whether it's corn or pumpkin or watermelon, whatever it may be. Only thing you can be guaranteed to grow that the elephants are not going to want is chilies. Elephants are as afraid of chili as they are of bees. And so there are two things that are used to discourage elephants from raiding crops in some parts of East Africa, and hopefully can be employed in other parts too, to limit the amount of competition, but also to limit this constant conflict of keeping elephants out of crops, and elephants having to bear the brunt of the blame when things go wrong. So one of the methods is to keep bees around crops, to have many hives around crops as possible, and of course that in itself is a wonderful thing. Here comes Norman. Because you've got the bees that will help pollinate whatever it is you want to produce, and you'll keep the elephants away because they won't like to disturb the bees, and then you've got one of the most expensive golden liquids on the planet. Honey, I was going to say beer.
Second most.
But honey is getting very, very dear these days because the honeybees have been declining. I'm actually glad that recently there was a decision made to ban a particular herbicide. Was it a herbicide? A pesticide? Whatever it was killing bees. And we would die out. We wouldn't know what to do. In some places they've actually been hand pollinating things because the bees have been missing. We'll move a little forward so we've got that light with these ones coming through. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's just getting another Ellen. This time Ellen lives in New Jersey. I don't want to move you. I just want to shake her head at us. I've got it. Yeah. But we got to. I actually want to be there, but not until you move. Ellen wants to know if I've ever heard of an elephant being born blind, and wanting to know that if an elephant is born blind, will the herd care for it? Well, I'm not too sure about that answer, Ellen. I don't think so. I've come across a calf that we seem to think was deaf once upon a time, and he was abandoned. There's one thing about elephants, in some circumstances. If a child is sick, or it's likely to hold up the herd, and the herd has to travel distance for water or food, it is possible, it has happened, that the herd will abandon the calf because it's easier to produce another calf than it is to lose a whole herd. If it's a serious case of drought, or places like Botswana where they have a long way to walk to water. But by the same token, there are herds that will try and carry the child to water, or try and shove it, move it physically to help it along. So once again, I'm afraid I'd have to use the word, the dreaded word. It depends on the herd itself. It depends on how crucial their survival is linked to the survival of the calf, and whether they can actually afford to slow down but then again, a blind animal in the bush I don't know. I've never known of a blind elephant. So I don't know really how I can answer that question, because I'm not too sure. I don't think so. I don't think it could happen. I think it would hinder the herd too much that they would possibly eventually abandon it, and it would have to fend for itself for however long it takes for lion or hyena to find it. Excuse me, little girl. Just coming through. Hello. Oops. Torah. Interesting question. Wanting to know whether these Ellies prefer these grasses down by the river, or do they prefer a variety of grasses depending on what their bodies need. Well, yes, it's more a case of they prefer variety, and very much got to do with what their bodies need. The elephant's digestive system requires roughage, and the more they feed on these lush green grasses, the more roughage they're going to need to push it through their system, because their digestive system is essentially a fermentation process to be able to digest things. What we call a hind gut digester. There's a cecum that helps with that process. And if they just had a lot of green stuff in their stomach without the roughage, the fermentation process could create far too many gases, and it would just become far too toxic for the elephant, and the elephant will die. And this is what happens when they lose their last set of teeth and they can no longer feed on the roughage that is needed, things like bark and branches, and the very things that wear their teeth down that are so vital to their diet. When they can no longer eat them, all they can feed on are grasses and softer material. So eventually, they can die relatively quickly. That bull's got a floppy ear. I used to know a floppy eared Ellie up in my spot. Just his cartilage is all funny. Another character to follow with Norman. Floppy ear. If you'll just turn a little more, or show us your ear. No, turn a little more. Yeah. Thanks. Are you going to come and show us? That's actually a big female, it's not even a bull. How silly of me. I was just looking at the ear. So while they do love these lush green grasses down here on the river, by tonight they're going to have to be back up in the woodlands away from this river, feeding on branches and bark and all the roughage that they need. I think somehow they must have gotten a message to come across.
I'd have to know what's going on communication-wise here.
Yeah. Well, we haven't heard any rumbling, so they haven't been talking, they haven't been vocalizing on the higher frequencies that we can hear. They've only really been vocalizing on their own lower frequencies. So normally in a herd like this you hear a lot of rumbling. You hear a lot of their higher frequency calls. In fact, I'd say it's probably the first time I've been with a herd of elephant that I haven't heard it flying across the river. Purple-crested lory flying across the river in the distance. I think it's going to be one of my quests to find a purple-crested lory on camera. I think it's be one challenge for either you or Brian to catch it on camera. Hello, boy, Key.
The crest, to find the crested lory.
Yes. The purple crest. You and your funny tusks. Brian, I cut off my earphone halfway through that. Carrie. Hello, Carrie. I like your zigzag dress. Carrie wants to know what it is we're being serenaded by. Crickets or... That is quite a chorus out there, Carrie. It's a combination of cicadas and crickets. I believe there's been a mass eruption of cicadas along the east coast. But of course you're not going to get that in Illinois. Mole crickets that you'll find here on the river. Normal crickets, cicadas, grasshoppers. So the bulk of what we're hearing are mole crickets. They dig a burrow and they use the burrow to amplify their sound. Yet another big ellie coming through the back there. I think Norman's also just happy to be amongst the other ellies, or for him, surrounded by women, females. I mean, I can relate. Mr. Norman, man after my own heart. You know how it is at a social event with friends and things. especially here in South Africa where we barbecue a lot, you always get the group of guys standing around the fire, fiddling with the coals or fiddling with the meat. And the women are all either sitting around the table with their glasses of wine or standing around the kitchen. I'm always with the women. I've nothing to say to the guys standing around the fire talking rugby and cricket. But boy, it's far more fun standing with the girls or sitting with chatting to the girls. So I understand Norman's presence.
How big is an elephant's heart?
How big is an elephant's heart? I can't remember, but I've got Inside Nature's Giants. Have you seen it? Maybe we should watch it, because then they'll take the heart out. Inside Nature's Giants is a very interesting program. I've gotten a lot of information from it. So it's one of those things I need to watch over and over. They take a few of the largest mammals or creatures and they dissect them. And they discuss their anatomy. Animals that have died in zoos or natural causes. They did a giraffe. The giraffe is interesting. Giraffe, elephant, crocodile. They did a whale. I think what else. Let's get a nice photo of Norman. No, not for them walking. They're losing that light. Really pretty light.
Everyone who's watching can see you taking photographs, so now you have to post pictures.
I will. This is mostly just to post pictures. Let's see if they're going to go out onto the pan. Well, they are. They're already starting to make their way away from the river. That's partly because it's probably the temperatures are going to drop here and they're heading back up to higher ground. And also, as I said, they're going to need roughage. They're going to need branches and bark. Like the equivalent of bran or bran flakes. Elephant, all bran flakes. What you doing to that little jackalberry? Oh, you're just having a scratch. Poor little jackalberry. Oh, it's going to change its shape. Now look at this, here we're going to have some nice silhouette. I hope. Hello Jack. Friend Jack in Long Island, New York. Long Island Jack. Here's the floppy ear female, and I think we're going to have an elephant sunset here at this little marshy area. How pretty is that going to be now? You have to come across the sun. Excuse me, I'm talking to you, it's you, but it, yeah, right. Hello Jack. Wanting to know if elephants can lie down. Only youngsters. Well, no, that's not entirely true actually, because depending on, I've got to use that word again. Most adult elephants cannot lie down under most circumstances, because the weight of their body becomes, well, it just puts far too much pressure on their vital organs. So most adult elephants don't and cannot lie down. However, adult elephant can lie down under certain circumstances. I've had big adult bulls in the camps that I've managed in different parts. In Okavango, in Botswana, I was managing a camp where I had a couple of resident Ellies, and one in particular, no surprises, but he used to sleep at my tent. He used to sleep with his head on the mat of my tent, and I'd have to tiptoe past him at night to get in. And I never had a bed. I used to have a mattress on the floor, and I could look past my feet and I could see his ear and his head, and I could see his chest rising and falling. But he used to scrape a hollow into the sand so that his body could fit into it, and then also they would lie against termite mounds, so they were at a bit of an angle, like a 45-degree angle, and that makes it easier for elephants to lie down if they have to, which is not very often. Youngsters, on the other hand, don't have that problem. They're not that big and heavy, and in some places where you find a lot of elephants, you see it a lot. Obviously in places where you only have a few elephants, you don't see it very often. But I could take you for a drive along the Magusi River at, say, noon to midday on any day in the dry season, and under every sausage tree and under every baobab is this family unit of elephant surrounding the babies, lying flat on their sides, fast asleep. And the mums and the sisters all standing with their heads low and their trunks on the ground, also having a nap, fast asleep. But they don't sleep for very long. They only nap for a few minutes, but the babies can nap for half an hour or so sometimes. In mud, they can lie down in mud because they can make the mud contour their bodies. It's a pity to move because of the sun. I think we get elephants inside in the sun. But most of the herd has moved up across the little road, going back into the woodland. Vivian, Chicago Vivian. Hello, Vivian. I'm sure I've told you it's my mother's name. Anyway, Vivian has noticed something. I'm glad some of you are becoming observant. So you can't have the camera on me now because I'm taking my shirt off to put on a long-sleeve t-shirt while I'm talking to Vivian. Maybe I'll just put it on over my other shirt instead. Vivian has noticed that most of these elephants don't have symmetrical tusks. Their tusks are not exactly the same. Wanting to know why that is. Well, partly genetic. Part of it is because it's genetic. And so you'll have, since they're teeth and very much like us humans, just to mention, the tusks of an elephant are not the canines, they're actually the incisors. And if you take a whole bunch of human beings and put them together and ask them to smile, you'll see that most humans, a lot of humans, have also got asymmetrical incisors. Some with a bigger gap, some with some growing skew, and some with perfectly straight ones that are. So to some degree it is genetic, and then of course comes the other factor that as they get older, one tusk is used more than the other, so there is wear on the one tusk more than there is wear on the other tusk, and that can influence the growth of that tusk in some way or another. I'm not saying it does, I'm just saying that it can, depending on the type of use they put the tusk through, the kind of use they have. And they're almost symmetrical, just one thicker than the other. So it's probably a left tusked elephant. master tusk being, I think the one on, hard to tell. One on the right has got an edge to it that shows that it's maybe been, she's been digging at bark with it. That was great observation there, I have to admit.
The first broadcast we've been at 30 dB since the beginning.
Yeah, but now I'm not getting anything on the radio. And a minute ago came through clear, now it's a noise in my ear. There goes a tree behind us. For some reason I'm not copying you now. Is she eating solanum? Can't be. She is. There's no fruits on it. Looks like it could. Yeah, it is solanum. Solanum is potato family. It's actually it's got a poisonous for the fruit is poisonous for us. I've seen kudu eat it. But yes, what is poisonous for some is not for others. I've been meaning to find a solanum flower for you, all you ladies. I haven't found a flower today. Thank you. Try to stifle it a little bit. Eating mostly the stem of the solanum. Not much, but I can just about make you out. Look, there's no dustbin in this microphone. Sorry.
I've seen those symbols for years and now you ruined it for me.
Sorry.
It'll never be the same.
Sorry, Nicole. Guten Abend, Nicole. Und wie geht's? I'm very happy today, as you can no doubt notice. Spent most of my day with elephants. But a lovely question from Nicole, asking whether it's true about elephants mourning for lost family members. And yes, it is actually. It's very touching to see how a family of elephant mourn a lost individual. Here comes Norman coming out to say hello to us at last. And so much so, in fact, that over time, when they pass that area, because they invariably will pass that area time and time again, they'll distribute those bones far and wide. They're townsmen, and they'll pick up a bone from one of their deceased relatives long after it is dead, and they'll carry it with them for sometimes even miles. I've known elephants to roll the skull of an individual for a couple of kilometers. I suppose because it was an airstrip, it was easy to do that. They're very well aware of life and death. They're very, very conscious of death and the ramifications thereof. They are very emotional about lost individuals. There are times when they will stand and mourn. They are known to bury their dead. They are known to cover them with sand and branches, and they are known to stand guard and keep scavengers away until they can no longer do that anymore.
The woman's right tusk, it's got quite an edge on it. Or is it just unseen?
You mean like that, like a
Like it's flat.
yes. I don't know if that's just the mud. Let me check with my feet. Let's us see it again. Might just be the streak of mud, but it does look like it, roughly. He's hiding it now. There we go. It does appear to have like a groove, like where that dark line is coming down. It's almost like it's not round, but it's. I wonder if it's split once. No, it's definitely a two deep grooves running up his right tusk. No, Brian is saying it could be because I don't know. It's not that. What it is there's a genetic malfunction or genetic deformity that has resulted in that tusk growing straight down as opposed to curved, and as a result of that very deformity, it's not a perfectly round tusk. I don't know if that has anything to do with inbreeding, or it might do. Normally when you get an anomaly like that, it's got something to do with inbreeding, not breathing. Nice to hear from you, Kevin. Kevin in the UK. Would like to have some idea of what it's like to be sitting surrounded by elephants, wanting to know whether we feel like we're one of them or whether we're just this oddity in their space. Gee, I think from my point of view, under the circumstances, it almost feels like I'm one of them, in a way, because they are allowing us to sit here, they're allowing me to talk in a normal voice. I don't have to whisper, they're not reacting to my voice at all. Of course, my voice is not as loud as the vehicle, so there isn't really a need to whisper as such. But they're quite comfortable with our presence, so for me it just feels wonderful. It feels wonderful to be accepted, especially when we're sitting in a vehicle. Of course, it would be even more so if we could do this sitting under a tree somewhere without a vehicle, but they might have a different reaction to that. For them, I don't think they see us as one of them. I'm sure they don't. They're too intelligent for that. They know exactly what we are. We're humans in a vehicle. But all of their life... What is this? All their lives they've had vehicles around them behaving in a rather passive manner, as we are. She's trying to use a tusk to pull off... She is using her tusk how thin that branch is, and she's actually managing to pry it off with her tusk. So it's an honor to be accepted, and it's truly a pleasure and a privilege to be able to sit here with a herd of elephants and not have a single one of them be aggressive or offended by our presence. Before we move on, I'm just going to put my other jersey on, my fleecy thingy. So magic. So shall we just go and see who's in the riverbed? Just before we say goodbye to everybody, we're just going to go and see who's in the riverbed. Still a little bit more light down there than there is here. And then we'll start making our way. I hope this is not too muddy. The moon. Oh, so wait. Forward. Happy full moon, everyone. Doubly special because we're with elephants as the moon is rising. There's a normal cricket calling now because it's starting to get dark.
There's the iris down there. It's quite dark on the thing, but they can actually see all the person.
Oh yeah? Turn the camera, let me see. Ah, finally. We get a trumpeting elephant in the distance. Look at these trees. Can you imagine leopards in some of these branches? Oh, legs down, watching the world. Just imagine it. Oh, I love these trees. Such a beautiful part of the reserve, this with these giant trees. Well, that was one of the ducks. Maybe an African black duck that just flew by. beautiful. Now that would be nice if we could have the elephant under the moon. Vast elephant in the river. Oh, that is just absolutely beautiful. The colour, I don't know what it would do for the light now to pan and tomorrow's okay, but it's tomorrow morning during tonight, after midnight tonight, which means it's still tonight, but which is tonight. It'll be first thing in the morning. We need to find out. Brian's saying that full moon is tomorrow, but the moment of full moon, because the sun and the setting of the moon, the setting of the sun and the rising of the moon is almost there, but by tomorrow night by tomorrow night sunset, the moon's going to be a little while after the sun, so sometime during the day or early tomorrow morning, during the morning, is going to be full. But it'd be nice to find out when that eclipse is, because it's probably going to be maybe around midnight our time. If I can think of the time that the moon has been up now, the time the sun has gone, and the time that it's going to take for them to be 180 degrees apart, it's not going to be the full 40 minutes. It's going to only be about 20 minutes. Which means it's probably going to be around early in the morning. I need to find that out. Thanks, Brian. Look more on your interweb and see if there are more details for our area about whether we're going to see the eclipse, whether it's going to be full. But to let you know, thanks for reminding me, Brian, that there is an eclipse of the moon tonight. I'm not too sure where it's going to be seen from though. Tomorrow night, +6, 4, that quick. Penumbral eclipse. So yeah, so it's at 4 a.m. 10 to 4, just before 4, just after 4. Interesting. I'll have to wake up to see that. One tusker. The baboon's going to bed. 33 minutes. The penumbral. And she suddenly realized she's going to get and finally I get an elephant under the moon. Now, that is a way to end the day. That is the way to end the day. Say goodnight to these children, and we're going to start heading back, get out of this forest before it's too dark. Bye bye everybody, thank you so much. I'm not saying goodbye to you yet, I'm saying goodbye to the elephant. first. Hello Norman, are you going to come home with us, boy? See, he just came to socialise. He's also heading back the way we came. He's herds and he's also waiting. I wonder if we're going to find the road through here. Oh. That's what I'm worried about, riding through the forest in the dark, driving over tree stumps. Like that, hidden by grass. Maybe through there. Get more stripes. I find the thorns only bigger stackers. But it's certainly going to happen sometime when we can. But well, darkness is falling fast. The moon is rising, and it's going to lighten up the bush for us tonight. It's going to be really pretty. But it's time for us to go. How's dark? Yeah, the moon looks great. But I guess it's that time of the day again when it's time to say so long, farewell. Yeah. Okay. It means with the moon. leave it on the moon and I'll just sit on the dashboard. Peace out.
No, see you.
Yeah, but I just moon on my shoulder. I have love in my heart. Elephants so calm that they've just been to me this afternoon, as they always do, because I'm on this planet for elephants. I am. That's what it's all about. And I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope that at last you've had a really special moment where we haven't just had to sit with them for a short period of time and then move on. And I hope that you felt as special as we have. Of course, you have to be here in Africa. You have to be sitting on a vehicle to experience this. And well, I know a lot of you can't. And that's why we bring this to you live, so that you can get some hint of what it's like. But it's truly a remarkable moment to have spent with them. My name is Mark, and Rob has been on camera bringing all those lovely images. Brian has been back in final control with Aaron. And between the two of them, they've been sending questions through to me, so thank you for the questions. Thanks for all the interest and observations. It's been a super afternoon. Do join us again tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock Central African time. Then we'll be heading out again early morning, and we'll see what we can find for you. I think tomorrow we'll go and see if we can find some cat tracks or something. And well, until then, bye bye.